Bulls Nation, another week has gone by for the Chicago Bulls, and this week there's a little bit of sadness, but a little bit of optimism, as the Chicago Bulls have had a fairly average week this week, and the teams that we have faced, all too familiar, as we've only versed 2 teams necessarily this week, but we've had 4 games. So let's talk about the past week for the Chicago Bulls and the week to come in this video. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? It's the Aidan Sports Show, and welcome back to another video. Today, we've got a Chicago Bulls video in relation to the upcoming week for the Chicago Bulls. We're going to look at the future games that the Chicago Bulls are looking forward to this week, but we're also going to reflect on the week that we just had, the games that we just had, and overall what I believe this week was all about for the Chicago Bulls. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Aidan Sports Show YouTube channel. Turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below, how good did you think this week was for the Chicago Bulls? In my opinion, I thought this was a fairly average week, but again, there is a lot of optimism from this week with the Chicago Bulls, or I should say last week with the Chicago Bulls. So overall, the Bulls record last week was 2-2. We had 4 games, 2 opponents, and we walked out 2 from 2. So I guess that's fairly, that's 50-50 at the end of the day. That is an average week for the Chicago Bulls. Now, let's talk about the teams that we faced. The New York Knicks. The first game against the New York Knicks, we managed to walk away with a victory 110-102. The Chicago Bulls had that game on lock all game, and the Knicks did come back for the most part, but in the end, the Chicago Bulls walked away with the victory. The next game was against the New York Knicks. The Chicago Bulls fell this game 107-103. The Chicago Bulls had to fight back in the second half after a very positive Knicks first half in offensive efficiency, and the Bulls simply could not guard anything in that game. Moving to the back-to-back, we got to the Orlando Magic in the first game of that back-to-back, and we fell to Orlando Magic 123-119. We let Vucevic get to a hot start in the first half, and the Magic never looked back, but the Chicago Bulls found their way back into this game, only to lose it late on. Again, another comeback for the Chicago Bulls. And then our last game was against the Orlando Magic, where we pummeled the Orlando Magic 118-92. And this game was by far the best game of the week, and probably the best performance we've seen all season from the Chicago Bulls. Now, in a lot of the games that we had this week, the big topic of discussion I do want to mention for the Chicago Bulls is injuries. Injuries has been an ongoing theme for the Chicago Bulls throughout the month of February, as we've missed Wendell Carter. Otto Porter played only 1 game this week, and it doesn't look like he's going to be back for maybe the next game. Hopefully he will be. Larry Markkinen had a right shoulder sprain. So in the end, the Chicago Bulls have suffered a few injuries from this week, something that we need to look into, something that maybe the rotation, like we saw in the last game, it needs to change. Maybe we need to go small ball for a little bit, or maybe if small ball works at a continually high level, we continue to go down that route when these players come back. At the end of the day, nothing's off the table for the Chicago Bulls, but injuries was a big thing. Something else I do want to mention is something I haven't personally mentioned. The turnovers for the Chicago Bulls have gone significantly down. But with the turnovers of the Chicago Bulls going down, something has really alerted us to why the Chicago Bulls haven't won 4 out of the 4 games that we played today or this week. That is the defense. The defense of this team in the first 3 games was a bit concerning, and I definitely think that we are one of the worst defenses in the NBA. I say it nearly every video, and that's not going to change over time because we just simply don't have the defensive players to play defense. But with the effort that we saw against the Orlando Magic, that's why my optimism is at an all-time high with the Chicago Bulls, because I just saw the best defensive display from the Chicago Bulls last game against the Orlando Magic. I saw it this week or last week for the Chicago Bulls, which gives me more optimism that now we have a certain way that we can play defense. We bring that into games this week, this upcoming week, we have some chances to steal some victories away from teams. So that is a big positive for the Chicago Bulls. And the negative is that we do have injury concerns around this team so far. And I don't know if they're going to get any better over time. Hopefully, things do get a little bit better. We get some players back as soon as possible, because I think the more players that we have, Strength in numbers. I keep telling everybody this. Strength in numbers. The Orlando Magic suffered, I believe, from a bad loss shortly. Not all of it, but some of it is due to the injuries that they've had throughout the entire season and last season, and it played an effect in this game. But full credit to the Bulls. Throughout this entire week, we went 2-2. Very good games, some of them, and other games, not so much. Now we have to give the awards for the Chicago Bulls. Talk about who was good this week. Now, obviously, if you guys don't know, the 3 awards that we give out: Disappointment of the Week, or Must Improve Player of the Week, whatever you want to call it, the Sixth Man of the Week, and the Player of the Week. And in my opinion, this seems to be an ongoing theme now. We're starting to see some consistency out of these awards, and that just shows that this season is well underway. We're not seeing mixed performances from some of our players. What you're going to see from most of these players is what you're going to get. Of course, young players will end up going up and going down, but players that I'm going to mention, maybe this is their level for this season and we have to accept it. We're getting towards that stage where we will find out the true level of these players. It's up to the Bulls to try and elevate themselves even beyond the season, well into the season. And it's also up to the Bulls to pick up their bad performers. And let's talk about the must improve, because once again, I feel like this has been 3 weeks in a row now, or maybe it is 2 weeks in a row. I have targeted Daniel Gafford in the must improve, and I'm going to do it again. Now, it's kind of hard to target Daniel Gafford because I know he's not the starter for the Chicago Bulls, but we've all expected him to be naturally a good defender. And we didn't see that in these games. I mean, he had one good game against the Knicks, I believe. He had, I think it was 4 points and 6 rebounds, or something along those lines. And he also had a better game against the Knicks. I can't remember the stats, but for the most part, it's been very underwhelming. I guess the Magic is what the example is. And someone put in my comments in my last video that Daniel Gafford struggles with an offensive center. I guess a center that has good post moves, can shoot the 3 or shoot the mid-range. Daniel Gafford's going to struggle against those players. And it kind of makes sense. Why? Because he's a rim protector. I don't think he's a naturally good defender. I don't think he's a defender that's going to be able to guard guards or do a switch. He's not that type of player. And a player that can have a game outside of the paint, Daniel Gafford will struggle. I'm starting to feel like that is definitely the case. So whoever said that comment, very good observation there. I'm starting to believe that is what Daniel Gafford's struggles will be, and hopefully we can find ways to fix that. That's why Thaddeus Young plays so often, in my opinion, because he is able to guard players from the 3 and players from that can do post moves and mid ranges. He might not be the tallest center out there. He is playing center for the Chicago Bulls, but he's definitely someone that is a little bit more mobile, and he probably can move his feet a little bit faster and probably get to places quicker. Daniel Gafford's definitely more athletic, but sometimes athleticism doesn't mean you're a good defender. We've seen that from Zach LaVine for a lot of these seasons, but now he's turning into a good defender, Zach LaVine. I'm just saying that's an example we can look into from the past few seasons of Zach LaVine. Athleticism doesn't always mean you're a good defender. Maybe he can become that over time, Daniel Gafford, but right now, this has not been the best week for him. Those 2 Magic games have been very underwhelming. There was some good games against the Knicks, but besides that, not really much from Daniel Gafford. I think he needs to do a little bit better. I think he'll definitely have the opportunity to do better with some of the teams that we do have coming up. And the 6th man of the week, the second award that we're going to give, once again, consistency is coming around with this award. It is Thaddeus Young. Thaddeus Young had a tremendous week. It got to the point where I was making videos about how good I believe Thaddeus Young was. I truly believe at this point in time, Thaddeus Young is our second best player behind, obviously, Zach LaVine, who's an all-star in my opinion. And Thaddeus Young is definitely showing that he is a good veteran, he's a good leader, he's doing it off the bench, and he is arguably our second best player. For many people, it's not even a discussion. He has done consistently well for the majority of the weeks that we've been talking about. Over recent weeks, the last 3-4 weeks, he's been consistently good. And obviously, the last few games, he's been insanely good. So, once again, a very positive week for Thaddeus Young. And again, this has been his career, all his career. He's always been the underrated player. He's always been the player that doesn't get enough recognition. And he's always been the player that will help you win games, but no one gives him credit unless he's on your team, because you see it. The Pacers, for example, when he was on the Pacers, he was one of the Pacers' best players. But no one outside of the Pacers probably gave him that recognition of how good he was. And we're starting to see that with the Chicago Bulls. I bet you no one is talking about how good Thaddeus Young has been for the Chicago Bulls if you're not a Chicago Bulls fan. But we know, we see it on a daily basis pretty much. And we're seeing how good it's benefiting for the Chicago Bulls over recent games. And the player of the week, fairly simple, it's Zach LaVine. 39 points in his last game, 26 points in the prior game. And obviously he's been doing very well for the Chicago Bulls. He's playing at an all-star caliber level. Get him into the all-star game. Let's get this trend going. We need the Chicago Bulls. We need Zach LaVine to get into the all-star game. Now, whether the all-star game is actually a thing to be happy or excited about or not, that's just up to your opinion at the end of the day. But whether there is an all-star game or the all-star game gets cancelled, whatever the NBA decides to do, there still should be all-stars that we have for this season. There doesn't need to be a game, but there should still be all-stars, and Zach LaVine is still an all-star. The game doesn't have to be played to show Zach LaVine as an all-star, and those votes do count towards something at the end of the day. So, fair play for Zach LaVine on having another tremendous week. With that being said, let's look at the week that we have ahead. Obviously, tomorrow we've got the Washington Wizards, the Chicago Bulls versus the Washington Wizards for the third time this season. I believe this is the last time we will verse the Washington Wizards. We're versing the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, a lot of Chicago Bulls fans are interested in Lonzo Ball, which is a player that does play for the Pelicans. So if he does play, we can have a chance to kind of scout him against our own team and see how well he can do. Again, the Pelicans have kind of turned things around over recent games, so there's not a game where you think easy win. We still have to work very hard to get that win against the Pelicans, and I do think on paper they have the better team. But if we can outplay them, if we can allow them to shoot threes and not necessarily attack the paint, we might have a chance in that game. And then the Clippers. We're going to have to wait and see that Clippers game. I feel like there's always going to be chances to come and compete against the Clippers. But again, the Bulls are definitely the underdogs in that matchup. And that is the week that we have to come for the Chicago Bulls. Again, I'm expecting, I definitely want at least 2 wins. I think it's a must to get 2 wins. We need to keep fighting with these other teams in the playoff contention for the Chicago Bulls. Again, teams like the Magic, teams like the Knicks, teams like the Cavs, the Raptors, the Hawks. These teams, we need to keep up pace with them, and we need to try and extend them in pace as well. We need to try and get above them. So if the Bulls were looking truly for playoff contention, I would love to see 2 wins out of this week. I am expecting at least 1, but I would love 2 from the Chicago Bulls. And whatever the 2 wins are, I'll take. But I think we definitely need 2 wins this week. Hopefully we can walk away with all 3 wins. But that is the week that we have to look forward to. Let me know which games are you confident about, which games do you think is going to be a struggle, which games are you the most excited about. I have not heard anything about Zion Williamson all year, and I know he's been doing a very good job for the Pelicans, so I really want to see how Zion Williamson plays. But hopefully it's whatever. If he drops 80 points, I don't care. I want the Bulls to win that game, but I just want to see Zion, how well he's been doing this season. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video. Obviously, the next video that we will have will be the Bulls versus Washington Wizards game reaction. When that game is all said and done, we will be reacting to that game, and hopefully the reaction is a win. Let's see. Have a wonderful day. Take care and peace.